we talking about practice. Not a game, we talking about practice.
Welcome, everyone, to another After Practice podcast with myself, Lake Lewis. The Washington football team travels to Buffalo, where they're going to face the 1-1 Buffalo Bills. Washington comes into the game at 1-1 as well. And this is a big football game, folks. I mean, this is a game that's going to kind of help us understand more about each team. Buffalo naturally was a team that most people thought could be a Super Bowl contender, that they were a team that possibly could compete against the Kansas City Chiefs. They played them in the playoffs last year, played them tough for a while. And I think people thought that they could take that next step, this year to being a true Super Bowl contender. They've come out the gates a little slow. The offense for them is sputtering just a little bit. Last week, they did score 35 against the Miami Dolphins. So we're going to find out if the Buffalo Bills are for real. It's hard for me to believe that the Buffalo Bills could lose two home games to start their season, their first two home games. Remember, they lost week 1 against the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Washington football team, on the other hand, though, it's a little bit of a mystery right now for me, which team's going to show up. And the reason why I say that is because they had a win last week, obviously Thursday night against the New York Giants, a big win. They didn't particularly play well on defense in that game, and the defense is supposed to be their calling card. So they're going to have to come out against the Buffalo Bills offense that's looking to shake the rust off as well. So which unit's going to prevail in this game? And that's going to be the big matchup here. Is it going to be the Washington defense stopping Buffalo's offense, or will Buffalo's offense do what the first two teams that the Washington defense has faced in the Los Angeles Chargers, as well as the New York Giants offense? They did what they wanted to with this defense. It's going to come down to that. It's going to be a game that I don't think it's going to be a 9.5 point spread. I mean, that's the spread right now. I think it's come down a little bit. And closer to game time, it'll probably be 7 points. I don't think it's going to be a high scoring, shootout. I don't. I think it's going to be a game where both defenses rise to the occasion, and the defense that, can create the most turnovers, the most takeaways will probably win this football game. It's going to answer a lot of questions that I think we all have for the Washington football team, though. Is this team a true playoff caliber football team, or are they a pretender? Are they the 7-9 record that they had last year, or are they the team that battled the Buccaneers and Tom Brady tough in the playoffs? I think those are some questions that we're going to have some answers for, and we're going to find out as early as Sunday. This past week, I had an event in D.C. On Tuesday, and a good friend of mine, a person that's really doing some great stuff with his own podcast, Rambling with Rio, Mr. Rio Robinson came out, and we chopped it up a little bit and talked about this game. This is what we talked about. I'm joined with none other than Mr. Rio Robinson from Rambling with Rio. Rooftop view again.
Yes, sir. You already know.
Chop it up, talk about the Washington football team. Big win against the Giants.
Absolutely. And finally.
Of course, finally. No matter how you do it, you got to take a win. If some team's willing to give it to you, you got to accept it, right?
Hell yeah. And we haven't beat this team in years, and it's our first time beating Daniel Jones, so I'm with it. I am with it.
It was five losses in a row to the Giants, dating back to 2019. They finally get that monkey off their back. Now they have to face another New York team, not the Jets, but we're talking about the Buffalo Bills.
I wish it was the Jets.
Of course, right? They have to play the Buffalo Bills, and everyone knows Josh Allen, one of the best young quarterbacks in the game. Buffalo's a chic pick to get to the Super Bowl.
Sure.
I will say this, though. We just talked about it. 34-0 they won against the 35-0 against the Dolphins. And they didn't play particularly well.
They did not. Their defense looked great. Their pass rush looked good, but their offense hasn't even got going yet, and they won by 35. That's why I'm telling other fans, pump the brakes. I'm feeling good coming off the Giants win, but don't think that we've seen the best of the Bills in the first two games so far.
No, but this is the time you want to catch the Bills.
Oh, for sure.
You'd rather go to Buffalo right now than to go to Buffalo in December. I mean, I wouldn't be going to Buffalo in December, not with that kind of, 6-foot snow drifts and all that stuff. But the Bills would be better at that point.
Oh, for sure. They'll be clicking on all cylinders by
Absolutely.
that point. So, yeah, that is a good point. So if we're going to catch them sleeping, it'll be right now.
Ron Rivera said today that this is a team that, they're like a measuring stick. And I agree 100% that you're going to find a lot out about this football team. And it's not the offense I'm worried about. It's the defense. I want to see Chase Young. I want to see Montez Sweat. I want to see that defensive line, all those first rounders. I want to see them wreak havoc, and not just during spurts of the game. I want to see it from the beginning, first snap, to the last snap of the game. That's the only way they're going to be Buffalo.
Hell yeah, because we've been told all off season this is an elite defense. This defense is great. Top 3 defense. Hasn't looked like this for the first couple of weeks of the season.
I'm guilty of it.
Oh yeah, I'm guilty of it too. I drank all the Kool-Aid. Like, I want to see Chase look like Chase. We made Daniel Jones look like Lamar Jackson on Thursday.
Daniel Jones was taking off, looked real comfortable in the pocket, was surveying the field, hitting everybody. So much so that Kenny Galladay was mad when he didn't come his way.
Yeah, they was going at it on the side.
Right, but this is the thing. We're hearing about Buffalo's defense as the number 2 ranked defense in the league. Mm-hmm. Naturally, you would think you would hear that about Washington.
Absolutely.
2 games, they've given up multiple points, just ridiculous amount of just ineptness, Yeah. So now you got to get that thing rolling. And for my money, this is the game where they can have their breakout game. This is the game where, against a top flight offense that's kind of struggling, you still can make your name right now. And you can do it in a hostile environment. They're 9.5 point underdogs.
9.5. Say it again.
9.5 point underdogs. It's not good.
It's not. And the only D lineman up front right now that's living up to his name is the one that just got paid, Jonathan Allen. He has 3 sacks through 2 games.
He had 4 last year.
Total. He already has 3 through 2 weeks, and he's been wreaking havoc up front. I need to see Chase, Payne, and Sweat. I need to see them live up to the billing, because right now, like, they're going in with no pass rush plan, and they're not creating enough pressure consistently, and that's our secondary can't cover but for so long.
Right. Look, folks, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, more with myself, Rio Robinson from the rooftop here in D.C., breaking down the Washington football team. Hang tight.
So appreciate Rio, for coming out with me on Tuesday, and we'll be doing that much more throughout the season, and we'll let you know when the next event comes up for us. So there's going to be a lot of different matchups in this football game, and I'm looking forward to seeing. I think the first one that jumps out to me, it's going to be Tre'Davious White, the all-pro, 2-time all-pro cornerback. Since he's been in Buffalo, he's been the last 2 consecutive Pro Bowls. Him going up against Terry McLaurin, who's starting to really emerge. And everyone in D.C. knows that Terry McLaurin's one of the best young receivers in the NFL. But I think he's starting to get that look now. I think he's starting to get the love that, he can be perhaps a really household name, around the league. And I think that people are starting to see that now. So that matchup's going to be really compelling. Tre'Davious White's, a tough defender, as far as, the cornerback spot. I mean, he's a guy that grabs, he holds. I mean, he's physical. Terry McLaurin, on the other hand, though, is physical as a wide receiver. He's a guy that I wish the team used a little bit more vertically, because he has 4.3 speed. But right now he's become their go-to guy as far as a possession type receiver, makes all the tough catches over the middle of the field. Matter of fact, out of his 18 targets this year, he's caught 15 balls. So anytime the ball goes near Terry McLaurin, he's going to pull it in. So that's going to be a very compelling matchup to watch and see who gets the better end of that. That could help, determine the game as well. There's only going to be but so many chances that you're going to get to strike on Buffalo on that defense, because they've got a really good secondary. Micah Hyde's back there. I mean, they've got some really, really good players in the secondary. So Washington's going to have to take their chances and capitalize on them when they present themselves. Taylor Heineke, played really well against the Giants in his first start. So obviously he's had a week and a half to prep and get ready as the starter and get all the first team reps in preparation for Buffalo. I think he's got a nice synergy, going with Terry McLaurin, and he looked for him often in the Giants game. And that's what you want. You have to get the ball in the best player's hands at all costs. And he did that. He got the ball to Terry McLaurin frequently in the Giants game. He's going to have to do the same against Buffalo. Some other matchups that are going to really jump off the boards, is the tackles for Buffalo. Deion Dawkins, Darrell Williams going up against Chase Young and Montez Sweat. That's going to be a nice matchup too, because let's face it, Washington's defense hasn't generated the pass rush that I think most people thought they were. If I were to tell you right now, that the leading sack getter for the Washington football team would be Jonathan Allen, you probably would have scratched your head before the season started. And that's no disrespect to Jonathan Allen. It's just that Jonathan Allen, all of last year, had 4 sacks. He's got 3 already in 2 games. So he's well on a career pace, and that's a good thing, because if you can get the other guys warmed up, it's good. It could really cause some problems for opposing offenses. And that's what Washington needs. Let's face it. This team was built around their defense, and they need their defense to carry them. And their defense hasn't done anything of the sorts. It's actually been the offense who's done well. So, before people think that Washington has no shot to go up into Buffalo and win, let's pump the brakes a little bit here. Buffalo's not a world beater by any means. They lost to Pittsburgh in their first game, and let's face it, Pittsburgh's looked like a train wreck since. So, with all that said, this is a winnable football game for the Washington football team. Are they going to win? I'll give you my prediction in a few minutes from now, but it is a winnable football game. But it's a game that, in order to win, you have to play really good football. It's on the road, hostile environment in Quince Orchard. I say Quince Orchard, I'm thinking about here, but in Orchard Park, it's going to be a very, very tough environment. That Bills Mafia, crowd really gets after it. So you're going into a hostile environment where you're going to have to come out with a W. It's going to be tough. It's not going to be easy. Everyone knows that, but it's something that's doable. And I've said this before. If you're going to get Buffalo, if you're going to win a game like this to help your resume, you want to do it now. You want to play Buffalo in September in New York, as opposed to going upstate New York and playing Buffalo in November, December, January. You don't want to do that. By that time, this team should be clicking on all cylinders. And more importantly, it's going to be cold as hell up there. So possibly, snowing at the same time. So this is the time to get the W. And if you're Washington, you get this W on Sunday and you go to 2-1 with a very winnable game next week in Atlanta. All of a sudden, the gloom and doom has seemed to kind of seep in just a little bit over the last week. And come on, guys, some of you are guilty of it. I could tell some of you were like, here we go again. This is a different outfit. This is not the same outfit that we've had in years past. And I can say that from covering the team. This is my 10th season covering the Washington football team. And I've never seen a more professional outfit as far as the way Ron Rivera and company's running this particular team. It's definitely professional. They're not wasting time at practice. Everything is meaningful. Everything has purpose. You just need to see it come to fruition on the field at times, because it does seem like we heard a lot of hype, even from the likes of myself. I'm media for you. I talked and praised this defense, and I thought this defense had the potential to be the number 1 unit in the league. That's how much talent's there. Well, guess what? They still have an opportunity to do that. They still have an opportunity to, do some special things. They just got to come together and play ball. They've got to come together and play as the unit that everyone expected them to do. And then they possibly can go to New York and get a W. My prediction for this game, it's going to be tough. Make no mistake about it. This isn't going to be a walk in the park by any means. There's an opportunity for Buffalo here to inflict some serious damage on Washington and to really bring into focus, is this defense for Washington any good? Are they really any good, or is it just a lot of hype? I think Buffalo wins this football game. I think Buffalo wins the game, but I don't think that they're going to blow Washington out by any means. I actually think Washington covers the spread that I think will be 7.5 by kickoff. I think Washington covers the spread. I think it's going to be a close football game, but I just think Buffalo has a little bit too much. And again, it's just hard for me to believe that a Super Bowl caliber team like Buffalo, could lose their first 2 home games to start the season. I just don't see that happening. So I think Washington loses, but I don't think it's going to be a loss that's going to make people hit the panic button or say, oh my God, they're 1-2, they're terrible, they're a bust of a team. It's nothing like that. Because I actually think they're going to go to Atlanta next week and win, regardless of what happens in Buffalo. So with that being said, I'm going to give you a score here. I think Buffalo wins this game 27-23. At first I said I don't think it was going to be an offensive shootout. I still don't necessarily feel like it's going to be that way. It could be a late touchdown by Buffalo that puts them ahead maybe or cements the game. But I think we're looking at like a 27-23 type game, maybe a 24-20 type of game. But it's going to be a competitive game for you on your Sunday. So look, you can follow me on social media. You can follow me on Twitter at Lake Lewis. You can follow me on Instagram and Facebook at Lake Lewis Jr. You can follow my work on sportsjourney.com, as well as, if you're covering, love the Washington football team, Bob Matthews is doing a great job providing coverage with me as well at sportsjourney.com. There's just a lot of stuff going on that you can check out on the site, a new look to the site recently. And then, of course, you can check out this podcast, on YouTube. You can watch it, or you can subscribe to it on Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio, you name it, the platform for iPads, iPhones, Samsungs, you name it, we're on there. So I appreciate everybody always checking me out on this. We're going to have a lot more coming up next week. I'm back in the saddle now, so it feels good to be back in studio doing this for you. So we've got a lot coming up. So we'll see if Washington can go into Buffalo and come back with a W. It'll be interesting to see. Remember, check me out on Monday. We'll be wrapping up, what happened, and also giving you a quick synopsis of player comments, coaches' comments, the whole nine when we get back from Buffalo. So appreciate everybody checking me out. As always, have a great weekend. Be safe.